Welcome to Political Scream.
Welcome to Political Scream. My name is Nabs. This is a recording of the live conference at the Library Center on South Campbell on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. This is the Missouri Cannabis Restoration and Protection Act of 2016. You can get up, get out, get active, help get signatures, and push this initiative that will affect us on multiple levels and stop threefold types of government and state and local people farming that is occurring right now under these prohibitions.
I've seen all the patients that are fighting to get cannabis as a medicine. And it truly troubles me, the children that are not allowed to get medicine. We have a chance right now to stamp out epilepsy in Missouri. Why our government won't allow us to, I'm not sure. That's the whole gist of our bill, is that every patient, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, you can get your medicine. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. Thanks for waiting for me. We got Vince Jennings in the building. He's a good, avid supporter. So,
wouldn't be a big sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But here we are. What did you? What was your election you won?
I didn't win.
Oh, you did.
I ran for state rep.
State rep. Yeah.
It was like a 78% Republican county.
Yeah.
I smartened up now. I'm libertarian now.
Hey, we'll be at the Libertarian meeting tonight as well. So, best of luck, by the way.
In America?
No, full-time. I'm a friendly guy. Good. I'd like to start out by saying the criminal justice, we got the report back from the state, and the Criminal Justice Information Service Division states that there are currently 315,063 arrest charges in the central repository that qualify for expungement under the initiative that we have filed. So we're talking about 315,000 people plus 63 that would benefit from this initiative, Missouri Cannabis Restoration Protection. And this isn't, and those numbers are soft numbers. You know, think about the people that had charges for guns and marijuana. You know, they had them both. Well, once the marijuana charge is taken off, they'll be able to fight those gun convictions. You know what I mean? Because, so, those are soft numbers. And they will, I'm sure they will go up. We expunge our initiative, we expunge your records, clean, get you back, jobs, all of that. No more bad background checks for everybody. That's going to be very, very handy. The man on my left is Bill Brooks. He's a Southwest Cannabis Restoration and Protection Act president. He's here to tell a story. We've got a little video we're going to show to you. You going to play that? And we're going to speak after that. I'm sorry. Let's talk a little about your life. Pretty much so easy one person. Multiple spinal injuries due to COVID back in 2001. Been told by surgeons, several surgeons, that there's nothing they can do during this time. There's no surgery available. Just pretty much stuff is on the pain every day. Do you take medications for that? No, not anymore. I use them. What did you used to use? I actually, I was on one of this, I prescribed morphine, oxycodone, hydrocodones, just a pain, muscle relaxers, this is following surgery. I'm having surgery. Oh, excuse me, following the car accident? Yeah.
This is since 2001 to 2012. October, a lot of medication, since blood pressure medication, medication for side effects. That's what I was going to ask. How did you fare with the prescription drugs? Not very well. I about died. Really. I gained over 200 pounds in the course of a couple of years. I know the first time that I spoke with you was at Campus Revival there in Joplin, wasn't it? Yes. And you've changed considerably since then. Yeah. So, what happened? Basically, I had some pain contract, which being like it has chronic pain, has to have pain medication, especially if you're on disability, for any kind of assistance. You usually sign a contract that your house is now drug testing. And I smoked marijuana before, it's recreational. And, I see the purpose of the medical side of it. I haven't had any or not, kind of which jerk around thinking that this is curable for everything. And that really is, it doesn't cure everything, but it's a big major contributor to my life right now. So you started using cannabis to treat your pain issues? To treat my pain issues, I lost my pain contract. My doctor fired me due to it. And I asked him before that, I said, marijuana become legal in state of Missouri, would I be a candidate for it? And this doctor has pushed numerous horrible pain medications on me, and all the for pain projects on me. Turned on a straight face and said, "You want to be a drug addict the rest of your life? You want to be a doper?" And I just bored. And I looked at him and I go, "Seriously?" I go, "Semi-taking kills people every day." And I said, "Marijuana doesn't kill anybody." I said, "It's so much safer." I said, "It's natural." And I had this conversation and from that, he's pretty upset. But, yeah. After I quit taking my medicine, I was taking I believe 14 different medications a day, some of them 5 times a day. And 12 of the side effects, like prescription drugs, miserable, cause horrible family problems. Basically, just walking zombie, and I walked it all. You mentioned that you had considerable weight gain. Yeah, I had a lot of weight gain. I had decapitation, get the fluid off my body, off my heart. Just knee problems, just all kinds of problems due to from the medication, from the side effects, weight gain. Of course, the depression that comes with a lot of medications. Since I quit taking all the medications and I started using cannabis recreating, my life's changed for the better, for sure. It helps you with the pain issues. It doesn't. A lot of people have a misconception that it gets rid of everything. It does not do that. It makes your body more relaxed, your mental state more relaxed, where you're able to deal with your pain easier. Toward the pharmaceutical medication, makes your brain all foggy. You think you're not in pain, which I did that. I was working on the farm and I blew my back out along my neck. My neck was already bad, so now I have a bad back. And you don't notice how much you injure yourself with the natural cannabis, marijuana. You realize your limitations. You still feel the pain. It just isn't so bothersome that you can't function. I function out on a daily basis. I have bad days and I have 3 bad days. I'd rather have those and have you clear-headed than go on medication and not knowing what's going on with my family. Pretty much when I went to divorce because of it, my kids don't think they do with me. That's embarrassing. I couldn't do anything. Just pretty much just sit and be miserable. But the campus has allowed you to step away from the prescription drugs? Yes, I still use a little bit once in a while to kind of help me get through some of the rough patches, mainly with the fall, winter. Spring, summer, I do great. I don't really need a whole lot. Pretty much all I use is cannabis. Excellent. Well, tell me, is there anything that you would like to say to Missouri and say to the rest of the country? The downfall, it is illegal. That's what we need to change. We need to make it more legal for everybody. Sounds excellent. So that sounds great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You feel comfortable with that?
And that was Mark Pedersen, the guy that wrote our bill, that wrote our initiative for us. That was him doing the interview. I'd like to introduce now Bill's
name is
Bill Brooks. There you go.
Hi guys. That's me. 25 meetings. I was still lost a little weight. Actually, I've gained about 10 to 12 pounds recently. Like I said, it needs to be legalized for everybody. Age, race, how much money you make, you should categorize it. If you say, well, you're not able to get medication to save your life. There's pharmaceuticals on you. All my organs start shutting down. I call a lot of them. I will consider myself from Virginia, considering it's kind of side effects of pharmaceuticals. Life destroying, family destroying, career destroying. It is illegal. We're trying to change this. You have to be a criminal high to mitigate yourself healthy. Or you can be like Bill Gates.
We got like it. He's good. Yeah. Your mom's here. I see. What did you think about when you heard cannabis could actually help you?
This is my mom, everybody.
Yeah, this is Bill's mother.
Sure.
I'm very proud of this young man.
Yes, sir.
And he's really been through a lot. And as you can tell, he didn't get his soft speaking voice from his mother. I've seen him on the prescription medications, and he was just a rag. I mean, I've seen him take a bite of food and just like he would slide down the wall. So I've also seen the effects of the cannabis on him. He was at my house, and he couldn't even stand up in pain. He was on the floor. He was. I felt so helpless. And then he called a friend of his, got business taken care of, and it wasn't 15 minutes after the friend left that he was walking around the house. And I'm like, is that much? Are you okay? And he said, it's tolerable. I still have pain, but it's tolerable. And I've seen the effects of it. Now with both, and 100 times I could go well. And he wanted me to talk to you. Do you want me to tell him what the cancer thing?
Sure. Definitely.
Okay. I had, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, scare the whatever out of you. And the process started. The biopsy, the examination, I mean, all kinds of tests. Eventually they had to do a partial mastectomy. And then I went on chemo. And on the first 10 days after my first chemo, of course your hair falls out. And as a woman, the first thing you say is your hair will fall out. Well, the fact of it is that's the last thing you need to think about. I was exhausted. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't get out of bed. My dear sweet son came to take care of me and was cooking real healthy foods. And I'm like, it changes your whole inside. It changes your taste. He said, well, Mom, what do you want to know? You know? And, but after all of that, I want to tell you about the side effects that have left me with. Neuropathy. My hands and feet are numb all the time. I used to do beadwork, American Indian. I did the prayer feathers and dream catchers, and I do the hat bands. I cannot feel a needle in my fingers to do the beadwork. Inside of my mouth, even 5 years later, it's sensitive. I love salsa. Can't eat salsa. Chocolate. Tastes terrible now. But the worst side effect for me, besides the mental, I get concentrated reading, I can't think straight, but the worst thing to me, as my son knows, my goal in life was to be an organ donor, right? My goal in life, I want to be healthy to be an organ donor. Chemo has destroyed all of that. Has damaged all my organs, not the skin, everything. 2-3 months ago, they said you have some suspicious issues that they want to have another biopsy. And I did, and I thought, oh gosh, here we go again. I was prepared not to ever do chemo again. I was going to do, with Billy's friend, the oil. I don't know, he had it all figured out. I was prepared to have them both locked off and do the oil and go about my happy self. It came back benign, so I didn't have to make that choice. But I had already made the choice. I was not going to go through chemo again. Some people, chemo is the way out. I'm alive 5 years later. I wouldn't have been had I not done anything. And I didn't know about cannabis then.
But if you had a choice, that would have even been better. If you had a choice between
and I didn't have enough education. I didn't witness and
it was a problem. Nobody has enough education. Our government has put into our heads for so long that it's bad. It's hard for everyday Americans to be like, that's crazy. You know, this has to be bad for you because they've said it for so long. And that's where we have to fight to get out of that mentality.
No, and being American Indian, for every disease, there's a plant that can cure it. That's just the bottom line. And Creator didn't put cannabis on this earth to be illegal. He didn't put mushrooms. He didn't put the peyote. It's here for a reason. It's a spiritual reason, a healing reason. Either way, it's a healing. It's a healing plant, either mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. That's it. Did I have any questions? Heard it downstream casino? Or yelling it?
So I guess you heard that the federal government's going to treat tribes like Colorado, Washington,
They can grow.
where they can grow
All the reservations.
and also do transactions.
We don't have reservations. We have tribal land. We don't have a chief. We have a chairman. And I don't know how they do that. They would consider tribal land. But that is awesome because the first people of this continent knows about, they were put on the earth to take care of the earth.
Yeah.
And not to destroy it.
I don't know if you ever visited Aunt Jane's grave in Miami, Oklahoma, but she lived to be 120 years old. She was born in 1766, like 1886. And she was the tribal medicine woman. And supposedly, she was doing cannabis.
I have two really good friends. That's a medicine woman for the Apache in New Mexico, and I have a medicine woman friend that's Cherokee. So, I'm off.
Yeah.
I would like to also point out in our initiative, the one big reason people have such a problem with it is because we don't have an age limit. We haven't set an age limit on this. And the reason we have to set an age limit on this is because it doesn't need cannabis can't hurt the children. So when people tell you prohibition is good to help our children, look them in their eyes and laugh. These are the same people that can't take care of their own children. You know what I mean? The same people that can't teach their children right from wrong. You know, it's time we bring back personal responsibility back to Missouri. With the Missouri Campus Restoration and Protection Act, you're going to see your lands triple, and property values are going to triple. You're going to see such economic wealth come to Missouri. It's going to be unreal. With total legalization, no plant limits, no none of that, it's going to our textiles. We can do hemp textiles. We can do hemp fuel. We can do this is just not one initiative. You know, this is just not about campus. This is about the wealth of your children, of your children's children. And I think you all really need to think about that. Tell your friends, tell your families, you know, this needs to be voted yes on. We have a lot of people trying to stop us. They want prohibition. They want this. They want to make money on it. We're not here to make money. We're here to save people like Baby All. This is why I got into it with Baby All. This young lady has touched my heart with probably about 1 million other hearts. She is amazing. Fighting for her life every day. Every day she fights for her life to kill the seizures. And with a little bit of cannabis oil, it's been proven.
This is actually a video of Baby Autumn during
Just one
of her seizures. She tried multiple medical options.
She's out of
her medications don't prevent her seizures. They also don't pull her out of seizures. So their method to end her seizures is to medically stop her heart.
I will not use this space. I remember trying to make a wire destination for her. Her face is a little bit pale, but I'm not quite yet.
She sees me. This is a
Autumn seizures last upwards of 4 hours. So these kids going through this for. We have patients who never institute. Their seizures do not stop. They literally achieve 24 hours a day and medications that they're being given by pharmacists and physicians. They're not helping them, killing them. It's killing quicker than
killing the organs, killing them. Leave her up there. Get her a picture back there. She's a very special little kid. She has learned now cannabis can help. You know, Chris Bay, her mom, has learned, you know, has done several steps. And that's why we're back. And prohibition will hurt this woman because she lives in Canton, 5 minutes in Canton. And with the other initiatives out there, she will be excluded from being able to come to Missouri. Even though it's rushed to Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri, every time she has a problem, that's her doctor that's been a doctor for years. She's still ineligible because of where she lives. So our initiative cuts all that out. Any patient from any state, as long as they can get here, they can be seen that day. So, just go ahead and put
there's a lot of cute art.
Yeah, look at all them other babies. But anyway, you got any questions? Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
And it's Nick, right?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, so Nick, I've looked at the bill, and I think there are a lot of things great about this bill. The thing that scares me is in Missouri, if you go by, as far as a petition, you've got to present the childish view correctly, because I think it would scare a lot of people if they think that we're behind, you know, like your kid in 6th grade smoking a joint that's got a lot of THC versus whatever. You know, as legalization continues as more states become legal, I I think we'll see the situation they have in Colorado where they're finding those specific. And actually, the correct term, and a lot of educated people will say, strains, but it's actually variety. You want to find the right variety of cannabis for the medical condition.
It's strain.
I'm sorry?
The strains of cannabis.
Mushrooms have strains. Fungi have strains.
Cannabis
have varieties.
Yes.
It's a general thing. It's just like the confusion between sashimi and sushi.
Okay.
A lot of people confuse it to technically sushi's vinegar rice, sashimi's the raw fish that goes on there. Actually, 80% of the time that's slightly cooked. But I think as far as trying to get this going in Missouri, we don't want it to look like we're supporting young people using cannabis to get high. My name is Bruce.
Bruce? Nice to meet you, Bruce. We're going to have to fight all those kinds of stereotypes in all different kinds of situations, you know. But the bottom line is the message is true. No matter how you wrap it, no matter how you say it, no matter what words you use, the truth of the matter is cannabis isn't going to hurt you. Cannabis isn't going to hurt them.
What about people like Dr. Mitch Earlywine with soothing? Yes. And he's saying that there is some evidence that using cannabis when you're younger than 21 is not healthy for the developing brain.
They haven't shown it.
There have actually been studies that have proven the opposite. There's no long-term side effects on the growth and development of the human brain due to cannabis use, whether you start as an adolescent or adult. And okay, I'd like to go ahead and just say, even though we're not setting forth the age restriction, it's not because we condone underage children for recreational use. Obviously, kids need to be focused on school and academics and activities, not on getting high. Part of the reason we didn't set forth an age limit is for children like baby Autumn. What's happening in Colorado is in many cases, children are still being removed from their home. Patients, adolescent patients, are being removed from the care of their parents because their parents are giving them cannabis-based treatment.
It's legal, you said.
It's legal, but it's not legal under a certain age, and so those patients who are falling under that age bracket are essentially at risk of being removed from their parents, and their parents are still at risk of going to jail. So that's one of the reasons we opted not to set forth an age limit, is to protect patient, pediatric patients as well as their caregivers.
Well, I mean, that I understand, but you presented to the public like saying, you know, we want the medical benefits to be available for underage children.
We don't want caregivers that jump through.
Well, yeah, that and from a non-medicinal point, from a recreational standpoint only, I will also point out, if you think about it this way, if a 17-year-old, say we pass medical, and a 17-year-old last year high school gets arrested for having a joint with them, because we all know high school students will have joints with them at some point most of the time. That kid's life just got ruined. Even if it's legal over the age of 21, that kid just picked up a record. He potentially got himself banned from going to good schools, from being accepted for scholarship offers, potentially kicked off any sports or extracurricular teams and so on. So this also gives the opportunity for parents to choose how to discipline their own children instead of having it be a giant legal record that can potentially bring a teenager or a child's life.
Right, and I think that's the way to present it to the public. Now, I'm in agreement with you there. I've got children, and I tell them the fact of the matter is because anyone here who studied it, we know that prohibition is made illegal based on a lie. Basically, a bunch of nothing. The Bureau's prohibition agents, alcohol prohibition ended, they needed work, and Harry Anslinger did all his dirty work.
It's time to get the education back out there that cannabis is not harmful. In any way, shape, or form.
It is.
And anybody that tries to bring you prohibition on something that is not harmful, it basically is criminal. It's criminal what some of these people are doing. We can stand for that. Go ahead.
Why couldn't a bill be drawn that children who are minors can use cannabis as long as they have a notarized parental consent?
That's one more step. That's one more step that these parents are going to have to go through.
I know.
We're eliminating the steps.
All it takes is going to the bank and
Why would you be worried about it?
why?
Yeah, why are we worried about it?
Because you're going, even though I support it, because I deal with cannabis.
We have to educate them.
I know, but the thing about it is,
Everybody's scared to educate them.
I don't think the public isn't going to go for it.
You know who's scared. That's why I think you're wrong. I think there's more people with cancer in their families, more people in their families smoking. I think we can get past this. I really do. I think with all of us talking to everybody that has a problem with it, peacefully, nicely, intelligently, and telling the truth. We don't have to say, oh, but your children. Oh, but the dog, the bunnies. Well, what about the bunnies? The bunnies. Hold on. We're about bunnies now or our children?
Matter though, as far as the commercial.
Oh, and by the way, let me bring this up. There's already law now on the books about smoking anything. So
I understand that.
In Missouri, it's still going to be illegal for children to smoke anything. But it is. We don't need that on our bill because it's already in law.
By putting it on this bill, we would be opening up underage citizens to legal actions against them for smoking cannabis, whereas with the laws that are already there, they'll be cited, they'll be reported to their parents, and then it can be decided within the home how to address the fact that their child was smoking cannabis.
I understand that, but how are you going to convey that to the public
Like that.
between now and then?
Just like that.
You know,
We're hoping you'll help.
2 or 3 million people.
You're going to have to shut down these people that are not supporting you. You're going to have to show why they're not supporting you, because they have agendas. They want prohibition. They want your money. They want ITAX. You know? Go ahead.
I'd just like to make a point on the whole thing with the complete decriminalization and the like, and the children. And like you're saying, there's already smoking laws in place for minors smoking, period. It doesn't matter what they're smoking. They could be rolling up grass out of their front yard. If somebody catches them, that's still a smoking violation for a minor. Under 18, if I believe right, in Missouri.
Yeah.
Some states it's 21. Now, I also understand where they're talking about no regulation, period, because we already have the smoking regulations in place. You don't really have to single out the marijuana issue from tobacco on that. So it's already taken care of. As far as the young people going, they're involved with the marijuana, and as some in the audience have already mentioned, some kind of certification at the bank, but then that gives the power to another individual to deny your certification on whatever grounds that they may be connected to in their big brother club or their shoulder club. You know what I mean? Their elbow club. You're like, oh yeah, haha, they got to pass this, but don't worry, we know Bob down at the bank. He's not going to sign anybody's, permit, So I really support this complete decriminalization, let it fall under the smokers' laws and deal with it on an individual level between the families and whoever's involved.
I support it too, but the thing about it is, it's going to be either voted yes or no according to the majority of the people. And that's the people I'm concerned about, is the people who are going to be voting. It's hard to
It's our job to re-educate America, Cannabis hasn't hurt one person here on this planet.
I would also like to add one more little piece to that. As families, we need to think about the big picture if we have children, okay? Like she was saying earlier, my son is 20, so if he goes out, it's going to be whatever infraction for where he is. But say when he was 17, like she's saying, that's ruining his future artificially, okay? I made stupid decisions when I was a teenager. I would give $20 right now to anyone here that was to say they didn't make some stupid decisions when they were a teenager and thought that they were right and everyone was wrong, okay? We need to stop punishing the children of our working class and our middle class with these kinds of violations. So that's another thing that we can use to solidify this. This goes back into the family's hands. This goes back into the parents' hands. You know, they are the ones that get to work it out with the authority and go, yeah, Timmy was smoking, he's only 17. That's between them and the authority and working it out so that he's not being tarnished. You know, that he can still get a job, that he can still go to school. I mean, it's getting bad now that even jobs, you know, they're checking your credit rating, and that you can guarantee marijuana usage on your record is right up there with the rest of it. So we need to stop this. It's insanity. We're ruining our future generations by artificially labeling them. And there is no one that I know that does not know a pot smoker or somebody that has used marijuana, one or two people removed, and you know that all this crap that you hear and this rhetoric is BS because you know people that have done it. Yeah. And they're not fitting this description that we're being fed. It's propaganda. Reefer madness. And I'm out.
All right.
Thank you.
And what I wanted, my whole point is, they want to put prohibition. They want this baby to jump through hoops to get a medicine that we can stand out and not, you know, now. As soon as this kid has the oil, these seizures are gone. This baby is not seizing it. Why are we putting hoops? Why do we need regulation? Why? So that's what you gotta ask yourself. Why do we need these regulations? Why do we have to tell this baby right here? Why do we have to tell her mom has to jump through hoops to try something that can't hurt her? It's absolutely insane.
My children and I and my family, we have problems with concentration. And my nieces, my nephews, my daughters, and myself, we have smoke. And it helps us concentrate. I mean,
there's several
got a test coming up and they need to study. I say, why not?
It's not going to hurt you.
Exactly.
It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt anybody.
Personally, myself, if I had a kid with epilepsy or seizures or whatever, I would just give the kid CBD oil or whatever she needs.
And they can take your child.
And then I will take them to court and I'll go to lesser.
You're talking about
other people.
You're talking about.
I mean, it's getting to a point today where people getting busted for marijuana are getting completely acquitted and found not guilty because of the lesser two people saying that this taking cannabis
or waking up
is a lot less harmful than the disease.
Not less harmful. There is no harm.
I know, but I bet just use that.
Exactly. But I want to make it clear. You got to be clear to everybody you speak to. Prove me wrong. Show me why I need a prohibition on this. Show me. Tell me one reason, and we can go from there. They can't. They can always go for personal attacks. They can always go for what I don't want my child. Oh, this isn't about your child and your parental, age. This is everybody's children, and we believe it should be free like that.
That's why the problem today is everybody wants to govern everybody else's family.
Amen.
Oh my God!
That's what happens if our kids misbehave instead of police. That's my whole thing. Is I would rather choose my child's punishment, my child, what needs to happen and what's right for my kids, instead of having police tell us how to raise
your government. And the government's like that. It tells you how many kids get a hold of liquor. Their teachers have to, but it's regulated. How is that possible? No, it's in the home. It's in the home. Marijuana is not going to hurt you.
I have a daughter that's 20. If she wants to go out and fight for her country, but she can't have a drink.
Don't get me started.
Oh, yeah.
No. Stay on top.
Yeah, but
I agree.
It's 220
This is
today.
her today. This is where, as we're sitting here discussing whether she can be allowed to use the medicine, here she is today. That is from today.
sitting in the Children's Mercy Hospital for 72-hour EEG testing to monitor
People are putting prohibition on her life.
So it's criminal behavior.
No,
No, she has given the CBD only.
Okay.
Yeah, she has
effects on her.
Well, yeah, but the problem with just the CBD, we have found with
Yeah,
just
the THC.
the THC opens the cannabinoid system and allows the body to accept the CBD. The CBD, it's like pain pills. CBD is. You know, you have your body built a tolerance. You need more and more and more. With the THC, it opens your cannabinoid receptors up, and you don't need it. It works instantly. And we can do this with opiates. Once it's totally legal, we can do this with opiate withdrawal, alcohol withdrawal, cigarette, nicotine withdrawal. It will open up all kinds of medical benefits for everybody. This is just not about cannabis. This is freedom. With one swipe of your pen, you can change your children's lives in Missouri. Period. Their future, their lives. But you're really going to make farmers happy. Farmers are going to be growing from field to field and flowers.
That's my next question. Are you going to keep him from cross-pollinating with cannabis?
Not my problem.
No, I'm just curious. I know. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, we got a grower in with a good builder. And I heard the numbers recently. I think it's like 3 miles is pretty safe. So that if you were growing in your rural setting.
There's no reason it shouldn't be totally legal. And for anybody to tell you there should be a reason, they have an agenda.
I take it this has protection for parents in there that your
So not parents, doctors, well, with it making it totally legal, there is no reason to put in wording of protecting parents. It's legal.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the overreach that Child Protective Services.
Well, and that's where we as Americans got to stand up. We're Missouri. We voted this into law. Bam! This is not going to happen on our watch. You know what I mean? It's time for personal responsibility to be brought back to Missouri.
I agree, but with some of the legislation, they do have wording in there. When they were trying to legalize in Arkansas, they had wording in there saying, in fact, that CPS cannot seize your children solely because...
Well, what we're basing it on is since cannabis is non-harmful, there's nothing that can harm a child. CPS with it being legal, after total legalization, and it's proven to be non-harmful, they couldn't take your kids from marijuana. You're not causing any harm.
I don't know.
And we do have verbiage within the bill protecting patients in general. In 3A or 4A, so looking at the initiative, it states all patients engaged in cannabis therapy shall be afforded the same rights and privileges afforded to any conventional therapeutic treatment. So, in effect, what that's saying is we're taking cannabis and making it what it is, medicine, and you can't refer to it as it's not medicine. Obviously, CPS has still been an issue in some of the legal states, like in Colorado. The fact of the matter is that we can't fight that fight until we've fought this fight. We can't fight the fight against CPS and these other government agencies until we've gotten the foundation of legalization established. And then at that point, moving forward, it's
not prohibition, legalization.
Moving forward, then it gets to a point where the verbiage that's in the initiative is going to start helping us have the ability to fight back against institutions like Child Protective Services.
Is there any more questions?
How you going to deal with the feds as far as costs?
You know, this was not of they defunded all federal jurisdiction money. They can't raid legal states. So, I mean, we won't have that problem. They don't have the right to do those kind of things. And our initiative actually makes it misdemeanor for police to help feds in any way with any kind of cannabis, any kind of cannabis arrest. If they even help us.
So is there going to be any kind of records or anything as far as who's using cannabis?
No.
No.
You don't need to because it's legal.
Yeah.
It's legal.
No.
legal for both
Because I know,
recreational
like,
and
You're grown ass adult.
I know, like, in some of the medical states, you know, they're registered and their car.
And that's my problem with that.
No, you won't have to have a
You
card.
don't have to have a card.
Having,
Oh, you probably would have to have something for your doctor.
for something for your doctor for medical will help, for taxation so that they're not getting, charged the same taxes that recreational users using. So that's the only instance in which you want it documented, that your user is being documented by your physician to be given to a dispensary to get free of tax. Otherwise, there's no reason to register in an instance, that there's no residential restrictions in this initiative. That three patients from outside of Missouri can actually come into Missouri, purchase what they need here. We obviously can't condone them taking it back to their own state, but they can have it available to hit them here without having to go through the route of establishing residency like what you currently do in other legal states. So, yeah.
So, are you going to elaborate as far as how some initiatives have like up to 15, 20, 25% excise tax on cannabis versus...
Are you asking me a question about that?
Versus just being taxed at a regular tax rate, you know, if
It's going to make
recreational...
the difference between ours and the up to
I'm not just saying there's...
up to a 25% excise tax, yes, sir. And 5% of that goes, if you look at the flyer, we've got pros and cons on there at each side. We want to keep our cannabis as low tax as possible. That will keep the cartel down. That will keep all that kind of stuff you don't want in your town. I don't want a cartel in my town. And
You don't have a cartel in Kansas City?
no, come on now. We got many family members. But the truth of the matter is, we can take a lot away by making it totally legal and keeping the prices so low. They won't be able to make money. Cartels have to make money to thrive anyway. And with this initiative, unlike any other initiative out there, we're battling that problem together. You know what I mean? And like I said, this initiative will shoot so many different directions. It's crazy. And it's really, really true people business.
Well, I love the initiative myself, but again, the thing about it is the people who are voting on it.
And that's why we're here, and that's why we're going to be everywhere, in every little town here in Missouri. I'm doing the whole state tour. I'm from Kansas City. I'm not from anywhere around here. So.
We'll also be launching our website and social media outlets. We do have the Facebook set up. We'll be kind of trying to promote our Facebook more. We're working on setting up our website and Twitter right now. The website will give people a lot more all-inclusive information. Well, kind of addressing what the differences are between lunch offers versus what else is being put on the table. Hopefully that'll be up next week.
We do accept donations.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the initiative is approved by the state. Yeah. Here, so now what we need to do is collect signatures, is that correct?
Well, what we're doing right now is putting together a comprehensive petition statement, video, so we can actually have educated petition take signatures.
I messed up, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna go, but I got puppies, so.
No, I understand. We didn't even have the video already. No, with them kicking me out of normal and taking my group, it really made me scramble just to find another outlet to do this with. So we're behind the ball on a lot of things, but we're really rocking it with the initiative.
Okay,
Yeah.
so explain how the whole game plan is gonna go and what the timeline is that we have to get this done.
We've got 13 months. 13 months. Try to get 165,000. 6 out of 8.
Am I correct that a certain percentage of those signatures have to be previous registered voters who have voted in the past?
No,
They just have to be registered.
Okay, I see
Registered today.
All right, I was thinking there was something in there that they had to be like 8% or 60% had to have voted previously.
No, the petition total signatures you have to receive is the total percentage of the governor's previous lodge. That's what that 8%.
Okay, explain that again now.
We have to get 8% of the people who voted for governor in 2012.
Okay. But this is a copy of the.
So it comes out to be about 8%.
We have to get 8% of the voters in 6 out of 8 districts. Right.
Yeah. No, I wanted to show you we had it.
8% of signing a petition.
Yeah, we have to get signatures from 8% of voters in 6 out of the 8 Missouri districts.
And those are those who voted.
Which is where we're getting that 165,000 number from. That's when you add, and that actually, I believe, represents 8% of all 8 districts is 165,000. We don't actually need quite that many. That gives us our safety net, if you will, making sure that everything's kind of up to par as it can be. So we can get 8% of 8 districts of 165,000, and all petitions are facing the same numbers for all of us. So.
Do you guys have anything else with the website?
Yes. Talk to me when this is over, please.
I appreciate y'all coming out. I really do.
I'm sorry?
I wish I got more visuals than that.
This is the first one kind of overbuilt.
Okay, all right.
We're working on it. All right, that'd be awesome.
That's it.
I'm sorry, did you?
I just had a question about other avenues of getting these, the entire initiative out there. Are there any other political groups that would help drive this
Well, we're gonna talk
initiative
to
along beside us, or?
We're going to be talking with the Libertarian Club just here in about an hour.
Oh, okay, so that's about tonight then. Okay. Because I was just thinking that, I'm like, the representatives, they have call teams and they drive different initiatives. I was just curious if there was anyone that had already jumped on board to help push it.
We're working on it. I was one of them, and I forget, because there's so many groups out there that are pro-cannabis that are not related at all. If that group got behind this, I think.
Oh, yeah. And I want to play one more video for you guys. It's only
I work
at this is No Belief. This is No Belief's mother. And No Belief's mother is very
City Council did.
young. But learning about cannabis and all this, and this kind of explains what she went through, just trying to find cannabis.
So Beverly was born with a condition that she was born with portions of a brain missing, essentially. And so she, I believe just a few days old, started suffering from constant seizures, different types of seizures, drop seizures, clonic, grand mal, all sorts of things. Nobody was basically a zombie. She was comatose. They were out of medical options, and her doctors were actually wanting her to put Nobly into surgery to remove almost the entire remaining percentage of the brain of her, basically just enough to be alive, but not enough to actually function in any sense. So this is 10 days after Nobly started treatment with her mother reading kind of just a letter she wrote.
Today is day 10 on cannabis oil, and I think that has given me more than enough time to stop being cautiously optimistic and start believing and confirming with myself the first miracle I've seen in my 21 years of life.
Look how young this baby is.
Sometimes I'm not sure if everyone quite understands my joy, but I know many do. And I hope to steer many other parents like myself in the direction of the same joy I am so lucky to now know. When I say my daughter is having hundreds of seizures a day, I mean it, quite literally. I say hundreds, but maybe it was more. If you can have a seizure every minute, including when you're sleeping, and there's 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, how many seizures is that? That's how many seizures a day my daughter was having. I'm talking 24/7. Her last EEG, which lasted a week, confirmed that the right posterior, accounting for 15 to 20% of her total brain mass, was firing constantly. I was a mother who was realizing I couldn't help my daughter. It would take drastic measures from a neurosurgeon in Texas to perform a lesionectomy and a corpus colectomy to split and then remove that 15 to 20% of her brain. A procedure that at best would leave my daughter with 5 to 10% of her brain.
The surgery had an 80% success rate, the other 20% still experiencing life-threatening seizures and no quality of life. And after being prompted to sign the papers for the surgery, the surgeon, of course, wanted to clarify the risk of death with an extreme surgery. 50% she would not make it out of the operating room alive, and that was a risk I was not willing to take. After getting over the trauma of facing such a big decision, I knew I owed it to Nova to try cannabis oil. She received cannabis for 4 days, and my questions about cannabis were answered the same day, the same hour after her first cannabis dose. It was really working. I can't help but to refer to it as a miracle. I gave it to her for 4 days until I had enough proof. 4 days with no seizures. Shortly after, I canceled all her therapies, upcoming doctor's appointments, the surgery, threw my belongings away, and headed north. Nova's first dose of oil in Colorado was Saturday, June 7th, 2014. Upon arriving from Mark and Regina's, I found Nova in a familiar, semi-comatose state in my bed. Sunken in eyes, shallow breathing, completely limp, yet jerking and shaking. Something I've seen and something she has endured for far too long. Anything from countless, pestering, debilitating clusters all hours of her day, her entire life, to violent and deadly, relentless gray mouth, threatening to take my daughter's life at any moment. Living in the hospital for weeks, almost months at a time, afraid that I would soon be one of the parents that begins receiving her mail there. My life, and my daughter's life, had become a living nightmare. At least in the midst of even the worst nightmare, you can wake up. But there was no waking up from this. When I pulled up on the syringe, a strange new black oil was ready to go into Nova's G-tube. Everything had boiled down to this. I went against the advice of many, but went with my gut feeling, and I carried the support of many with me. The oil easily slid through the feeding tube and into her tongue. 20 minutes afterward, I met my 3-year-old for the first time in my life. It's been 10 days since then. In those 10 days, we have seen one seizure that lasted 10 minutes, and after a big dose of oil, stopped. The past week and a half has been filled with more love, joy, and happiness than I have ever known. I feel my daughter, my family, and myself have a new lease on life. The best joy I've ever known has been the past 10 days with my child. It's a precious gift. If there's 60 minutes in an hour and 24 hours in a day, how many potential minutes have passed that were potential risks for seizures? 14,400 minutes that prior to starting oil would have been spent laying next to Nova in bed, watching her wither away, wondering how long she had left on this earth. She has only spent 10 minutes of those 14,000 minutes having a seizure since starting her oil. This is more than we could have expected, and my daughter is alive and well at this very moment, and as far as I'm concerned, every moment on thanks to cannabis oil. If I had any doubts before, they have diminished. Cannabis oil saved my daughter's life. If you have a loved one who is suffering, take it from this 21-year-old, once unseasoned but completely self-taught mother whose eyes are now open. Just a regular person from regular old Texas that never in a million years would have dreamt I'd be writing this today. Don't wait. You've got to go for it, as the view from the top is oh so sweet and worth it a million times over. A 99% reduction in seizures. Hearing my child laugh harder than she ever has in her life. Feeling her arms around my neck while she goos and gaws at me. Seeing her attempt to sit and stand on her own and seeing the future of her when I look into her eyes. If that's anecdotal evidence, I'll take it. Mom completely for cannabis statement.
And what angers me the most is she is a baby herself, 21 years old, with a sick child, and has to jump through hoops to get her baby medicine. That is a criminal act. And these people that are talking about prohibition, they're criminals. They want these babies to have to jump through hoops. We can't allow it. I won't.
Yeah, I think, again, it's kind of a lot of people, like I've got a brother, and I've discussed this with him a lot. a lot of people don't have, I think the easy sell is cannabis for children in scenarios like this, but what we're talking about with this bill is for everyone. You know, for me, for my chronic pain, possibly for this gentleman here, I don't know. You know, I know it would help me and get me off the prescription medications I'm taking now that are not healthy. But I'm going to go to Down syndrome, you know, so heaven forbid I get caught with cannabis in my house, CPS, I use a lot of excuses to pull that child out in that road. Kill me on the run. But for selling it to the general public, I think another thing to remember is let's just kind of say, bargain and assume that when we were here, when we were young, everyone here smoked marijuana. If you remember maybe the first time you smoked it when you had too much and you were a little bit paranoid and everything because your system wasn't kind of properly tuned, you got really high. It was maybe good or maybe bad depending on the context. So for a lot of the population, that's what they see. They think, and they don't realize that people that are chronic users, you know, people that are using it consistently for whatever need, whether it's pain or whether you're depressed, you know, they don't see that. They see that we're all getting high as a kite that scares the devil out of them.
What?
I would like to respond to that. Well, it's like this. If you want your kids to be exposed to harder drugs, then you keep the restrictions on them. They're going to crack bands. They're out. And teenagers are going to buy it regardless. They're going to buy it whether it's at the grocery store, at Mary Jean's, or if it's Ma Jean's, or if it's, the crack man down the street. That's how a majority of these kids get turned on to pills. That's how they get turned on to powders, hallucinogens. Because, hey, my pot guy's out of this, so they've got this, and while they lied to us so long about pot, surely they're lying to us about the meth. Surely they're lying to us about the cocaine as well.
Amen. That's the argument that we use, so I agree with you 100%. I think that's great.
And you'll see a drastic drop in other drugs if there are no prescriptions.
Colorado is actually already proving to us that by legalizing marijuana, they are seeing a steep decline in the underage use of marijuana in the state of Colorado.
Because the old men, that ain't cool.
You know what the average age is for the cannabis users where they legalize? 42.
Mm-hmm.
42. So that's what I'm saying is we present things like that and what this lady said as we're petitioning.
Yes.
Because, her point, to say it another way is, so for one, it's not as cool anymore now that it's legal. And the other thing is,
not cool when you're trying to
have the people you're forced to get it from are not always the best people, and they don't always have the best motives. How many kids do you know who are going and buying moonshine from the guy where you leave the money on the stump overnight?
Yeah.
You come back and find your moonshine there the next day.
How many of our teenagers in this country right now are going to the gas station and buying synthetic drugs?
Exactly.
That can kill you on the first use. K2 is very deadly. It causes adult onset seizure. It causes death. It can cause paralysis, and it can cause neurological damage. Your kid can walk into a BC gas station and buy it on their own.
Well, what's really bad about that? It screws your system up so that when you use what God put on this planet or nature, depending on your religion, for our benefit, you go do those, it can screw your ability to
It causes damage to your cannabinoid system. That can sometimes be irreversible.
I'm going to ask everybody, Bill got some things to say, but before you leave, please sign it. Either both, let me know how to get a hold of you. I appreciate it. Good. Thank you for coming out. I hope we answered some of your questions. Bill, take over. Hey guys, Craig and I are representing Southwest Missouri. We started different events, start having monthly meetings. I'm watching on Facebook. Dates, live location, library. Won't be as big room, I'm sure, but we'll just get rolling. Appreciate all the help, support, tell your friends, meet church leaders, get everybody to come. We need to get this stop. We better start helping people. I'm tired of being criminal of my own.
last month. I have disc issues, and I had herniated disc between my shoulder blades, which caused severe pain in my arm, and my thumb's still numb right now. Got back on prescription pills, steroids. I ended up getting injections, but I started gaining weight constantly. Starving to death. And that's not my fault. That's the poison in the pills. And I'm tired. And these kids we see, that just draw thousands and thousands of adults, children. We need to stop this and get this taken care of. So, you guys come up with a sign, feel comfortable with it, that'd be great. Have somebody get a hold of you if you're interested in any type of competitioning. We're going to be doing training classes here very soon. Watch on Facebook, like I said, please bring, write, share, friends, family, church leaders, politicians, please. Right. Glad to see you talking about it.
All right, thanks for coming out, guys. Let's get some cannabis legalized. Go ahead. The opportunity's here, fellas.